Report.
Drawings are 99.99% done. We advertise this week and go out to bid on Wednesday. We have an estimate from the estimator, which was based upon the 80% documents, which is roughly about 4.3 million, which tracks almost identically with the previous estimates we've had at D&D and schematic. So the project has not grown, has not shrunk by very much, but we are on track with the previous approved budgets. Whatever, maybe not budgets.
Anything else?
No. Project is going along well, and we're in the final review and coordination.
Anybody have any questions for John?
It's going out bid tomorrow?
No, it's being advertised, because you have it advertised a few days before, but it will be available for bids on Wednesday, next week, I believe.
Next Wednesday.
Plans are
Wednesday.
available starting next Wednesday.
Contractors will, there's a bidding information provided in the last part of Tony's handout, but basically find it here. The general bids are due on Valentine's Day. I thought that was appropriate. The file subs are due on the February 6th, and there'll be a walkthrough on the 31st, I believe.
Correct.
Now, the water situation, did we
For
resolve
the,
that? For the pump house?
yes, our fire protection engineer has provided calculations, and they necessitate a fire pump.
Pump house.
The pump house, the small generator that feeds that, it's a little metal building that's gonna go behind the senior center.
And that's in your bid? That's in your bid?
That is in this number, yes. We have had some issues with rock and other numbers, which we've been able to keep within keep within the number. I don't wanna say budget.
Any questions for John?
That
Right.
pump house, that,
Oh, so-
I'm sorry, I didn't, please.
No, go ahead.
We were talking $60,000 roughly before, how close is that to
How much?
66.0?
Oh, with the house, with the enclosure and the pump, we're $100,000 or so,
I thought it was all over.
yeah. I'm-
Maybe that was just wishful thinking on my part.
No, it was something that we were constantly trying to avoid, but, the numbers were the numbers, and that's just what they've, been able to calculate.
Yeah, I'm just curious, as far as the release date of the documents for the bid, did we end up hitting the dates we had targeted originally?
Yes, you're having bids in hand on the 14th, which gives you a couple weeks to do the road show.
And still have a viable bid, because 30 days.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anything else? All right, thank you, John. Project schedule, bid dates, town meeting, special town meeting, special election. The bid dates we just got was
14th,
February 14th.
yes.
Town meeting is the 26th.
So we're still going with those dates that you had originally proposed at your last meeting. The special town meeting would be Monday, the 26th. The election would be Tuesday, the 27th.
All right.
A backup date for the special town meeting would be Wednesday, the 28th.
Right. It's not gonna snow, we already know that, so.
Chris told us it wouldn't.
That's good. Anybody have any questions on that?
Anita, what was the ballot date again, please?
27th, that'd be a Tuesday, February 27th.
27th.
That's the day after the special town meeting.
Correct.
Oh,
That was what you agreed to it, well, what Fisp agreed to at the last meeting.
Right.
that's what I was the impression we had a week on that, okay.
We'll be on
Can't forget.
vacation.
It's a new year.
All right, let's go to OPM contract status. How we want to,
So we received notice that Tony DeLuzio has resigned from Cardinal and effective last Friday. So Brent is here tonight, sitting in. And so, under the contract, basically, the choice of the OPM that's assigned to our project has to be approved by the town. So, with a potential change of OPM, since Tony has left, we need to have discussion with Brent to find out who is going to be the OPM that's being proposed for the project now. And the Fisp has to determine whether or not that choice is appropriate, and if you're willing to accept that proposed OPM.
But we've already got everything done through the bid process. So this is not going to affect that, am I correct?
It will not affect that. Brent will be taking over, has taken over the bid process coordination with John.
Okay.
So I am proposing myself to take over from here on out. So I've been involved a little bit up to this point. Now I'm getting myself fully immersed and into the project and have a good understanding of what's going on and
So-
see any issues.
Just, can you identify yourself? You're from Cardinal Construction?
Yep.
Okay. And just your name, just so the public will know that.
Yeah, so Brent Arthod from Cardinal Construction.
Okay.
I own the company. I was one of the folks proposed originally with Tony. With Tony leaving, I'm continuing to step in his stead.
Big shoes to fill.
What's that?
Big shoes to fill.
Noisy shoes.
There are. There certainly are.
Who's Tony?
No,
I think his seat's back there.
we get used to him being around. When we did the police station, he was there all the time. When we need him, he called and stuff like that. And that's obviously what we're looking forward. Same thing with you.
Certainly.
Something that you'll be able to attend all the meetings, all the, just how many days were you at the police station, roughly a week?
2, 3.
Yeah, so I don't anticipate any drop off. I'm not quite as chatty as Tony.
Very few people are.
I've been around I've been doing public commercial construction in Massachusetts since 1989. Know the racket well. I'm looking forward to stepping in and helping out and not missing a beat.
And who would Peter help?
So that's the intent right now. We're early, and I haven't talked to Peter about, once this thing does get kicked off and running, but I would hope to use Peter as well.
Peter is a project
Clerk of
manager. I know,
Works.
just again.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Okay, he's the clerk of works.
yes.
Was he the clerk of works at the police station?
was.
Yeah.
What's the last name?
Mattson, M-A-T-S-O-N.
We have a contract with Cardinal all the way through this project, or just,
It was a two-part.
It's a phased contract, so it allows for the town pulling out of the contract if funding is not available. There's the full contract. This is the section that deals with the staffing and provides the town with the ability to say yes or no to any changes, proposed changes in the OPM
So-
site.
we couldn't reopen the contract. We can only say yes or no to it? If we say no, that means,
If you say no, then basically, the contract with Cardinal would be done, and the town would have the ability to go out again for OPM services.
It would be done after the bid contract's over.
Technically, you could say now, but, I'd have to reread the section about notification, but with bid services being literally just weeks to completion, it would, if you decided that you were not satisfied, you might as well continue through the end of the bid process.
The way the contract was negotiated, you're contracted through the opening of general bid town meeting. The negotiated construction administration portion then gets amended by amendment to the contract should the project get full funding.
It'd be the same as for the architect, because you wouldn't want to pay the architect if you weren't going to go forward with the funding, so ours is a phase contract also.
So, we don't know you, we know Tony. How would the project management of this be different under your guidance versus what Tony was doing? How do your styles compare? And as president of the company, is your accessibility the same?
So, as far as accessibility goes, I don't know exactly how many times Tony was up here, but I dedicate myself to every project that I get, that I'm responsible for each and every time. So I've never had a complaint about not being accessible. I keep my phone with me at all times. I live in Sutton, I work in Worcester. You know, we're minutes from the site. I can't imagine that that's going to be an issue as far as accessibility and being around when you need something. I'd be happy to give you some former clients to talk to. You don't have to take my word for it. Talk to them about my accessibility and the ability to commit time to your project. So right now, we do have the time. We've got a project winding down in Worcester while this one's ongoing, so I don't see an issue at all.
And as far as the differences in how you manage projects, what would we expect to be different?
So I'm not as chatty. I kind of said that before. I'm more get to the point, business-oriented sometimes than Tony is. But I don't think there's a great difference in our management styles or what we try to do. I don't know, I wouldn't know how to categorize Tony's style right now and compare it to mine, quite frankly, but I try to get involved with the people that I'm working with, understand their needs and their wants, and try to represent them the best I possibly can. So I honestly don't know how to answer your question.
Okay.
Are you currently on projects yourself, like Tony was on our police station? Are you on one yourself?
I am, yeah. I'm working in the central building in downtown Worcester for the Crocs. I'm working on the pop-up gallery in downtown Worcester for WBDC. I'm going to be working on the Burlington Fire Station up in Burlington and here.
Okay, so when Tony had 3 or 4 things he was doing during our police station also?
Yep.
And now, are you bringing someone new on to handle, are you gonna take all of the work?
No, I've already brought someone on.
Okay.
But right now, that we don't have, I don't have a project that is in need of plugging a new person in. So I brought a new superintendent on board to help fill a gap in Worcester. But I am out looking for project executive types and interviewing for it. We just don't have a spot for them just yet. So we don't have the workload right now.
So my understanding is we could continue until the bid opening. After that, we could make a decision. Is that right? Whether we need to continue with this.
But we'll have to see about notice.
I have to double check the notice provision of the contract, but, you know, the bid process, I mean, it's expected that the bid process will be wrapping up shortly after February 14th. The general contractor bids are due the 14th. There's the review of the bids, checking references, et cetera. And so by the 20th of February or so, that portion of the contract would be done. So, you know, if you have any concerns, you should be making up your mind sooner rather than later so that we can give adequate notice to Cardinal if you choose not to continue.
On the tail end of that, so should we choose not to continue with Cardinal, this is going to go out for multiple bids, or can we revisit the original bidders?
No, time has passed. We would need to put a new RFP out.
And what does that timeline look like?
6 to 8 weeks would be probably the fastest we could do it. But that's fine because that gets us through the town meeting phase where we know whether or not we're going to need even to execute a new contract or not.
But if you're talking 6 to 8 weeks, the reference point date would be nowish.
Yep, so if you
don't
have
wanna
any,
a
if
gap
you
in
have any
coverage.
doubts, then the sooner I know that, I can put that RFP document together and get ready to go.
Okay.
So,
Are there any concerns that I can address, other than management styles, which I don't know how to address?
Is Procore used throughout the company?
It is.
You like it?
Well, this gives us continuity and with a good administrative package.
Chris is an expert on
Yeah. Like the pictures.
Yeah, in fact, the sprinkler calculations are uploaded as we speak with the Procore. So if anybody has any concerns about availability, commitment, experience, expertise, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to tell you that's going to convince you, but I would love to give you references and people that have worked with me so they can give you some kind of understanding of what those things are.
I think that'd be good if we could get a list, you know,
I agree.
leave us and we can call.
Because, I mean, I would think, I mean, not to say that,
It's just personal.
right, I mean, I think people voted to go forward with you folks because Tony. I mean, I think, I mean, people may tell me I'm wrong. They,
Undoubtedly,
they-
the most important
Right.
factor.
right, you didn't say we're going with
Cardinal
Cardinal.
got
We
the
said we're
contract,
going
it's
with
a
Tony.
Lucio.
So that, I think that's the issue with,
So I think if you provide that list to us, we'll do a thing, and then we'll, if you have to have a meeting in a couple of weeks, something like that, we will. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yeah, I think, let's continue until the bid opening.
Yeah.
but we need to give
Oh, no,
notice so we
we
won't
don't-
drag things out.
No,
We do need to consider the
We-
town election.
we have to be fair to us, we have to be fair to him too.
Yes, agree.
And if I could make a specific request on the references, do your best to keep them to similar scope and type of town, if that's possible. Obviously, we're talking a smaller project in a smaller town. For us to hear about a project in Worcester with Worcester Redevelopment Authority or WPDC is not really gonna match eye to eye with the kind of experience we would have.
I would concur with that because in the criteria, that we were looking for OPM who had experience in municipal projects, of similar size and scope. So it would be, the references would be good if they were specifically for OPM services and preferably municipal projects, if such exists.
When you deal with these other people, is the same kind of committee like this, is that who you deal with?
So I deal with boards, I deal with individual private owners, I deal with building committees. It's run the gamut.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's, and most of the stuff I've done recently has been more on the private side. I've tackled some of the larger private work.
Okay. So why don't we all get the references and,
Who would pursue that? Anita, would you be doing that to
I would be,
check references?
yeah, I
or
would be
will
glad
the
to make the
committee
phone
members?
calls. If anyone wants to give some suggested questions that you'd like me to include, I'll add those to what I would normally do.
if we have some questions, we can email to Anita, and that way we'll go from there.
Have you done a senior center before? And a project
Well, so
manager?
I had-
I know a building's a building, but have you done a?
So out in South Hadley, we did a takeover for a bonding company that we finished up that had a senior center component to it. We've done several elderly housing type projects, similar type of look and feel, but no, I can't recall any direct senior centers that I've done. Southgate at Shrewsbury is one I did way back in the day.
Okay. Anything else? Good. Thank you. We'll look at that. All right, planning for special town meeting and election. So obviously we need to plan the road shows. So the 14th we get the bids. The 26th is the thing. So the 14th is a Tuesday usually, isn't it?
14th of February is a Wednesday.
Wednesday?
We're getting the bids, bid opening, but we got that week of the 19th,
Yeah.
the first day is President's Day, so the 19th. So we have that week.
So why don't we,
So we could do, those days plus Saturday.
yeah, why don't we plan on the same place we used last time?
I'm not gonna be able to do any during the day during the week.
Okay.
Uh,
I know it's Dad's time.
Yes, I'm just too, I can do the night ones, I can do a Saturday one, but
Yeah.
not during the day during the week.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
So do we want to do a Saturday one on the 17th?
Yeah. that one.
And then another Saturday ended off on the 24th? I think we did last time, right? We had a
That's-
We
Saturday.
had 2 Saturdays.
That
So we
sounds
had a
good.
Saturday, then I think the last Saturday was Town Hall.
Yeah, let's do, the first Saturday we did, senior center, didn't we?
We usually started with senior center, and then we did Hillside and Angel Brook, yeah.
Can we do the senior center on the 17th?
That was midweek, yeah.
You rather do that, not on Saturday, you rather do it?
We didn't do it on a Saturday, I don't think. I can't remember what the 2 Saturdays were.
One was here and one
One
was
was
there.
here.
Saturday.
Library, maybe?
Church.
The church was at the
Oh,
Lutheran.
it was the church, yeah. So can we find out if we can do the church on this Saturday,
17th,
17th? Do
24th.
the
Town
senior
Hall.
center on the 24th,
What's
that
the-
next Monday? Oh, we can't do that, that's a holiday.
President's Day, we can't do things, right?
Wasn't there a Saturday at the school in the media
Could,
center?
but
No.
No.
we didn't have-
I don't
we didn't
recall.
have any-
We could do, but I don't think we need to. Then we got the Tuesday, Wednesday,
Let's do Tuesday at the senior center, does that work?
20th?
February 20th?
Yeah. At
It's Tuesday.
3 o'clock? Is that good, or 2:30? 3 o'clock? We're gonna do Saturday at 10.
That's worked out well.
Yeah. Then we'll do, we did Angel Brook,
Angel Brook, Hillside.
And we also had Orchard Knoll asked for we added
Yeah.
on an extra session
Right.
because Orchard Knoll wanted
Right.
one specific for them.
so we can,
That would fill all the other days then.
we do Angel. Angel Brook?
Angel Brook,
When?
Can you try to put
21st, 22nd up to-
20 yeah.
21, 22nd, 23rd.
Well, I can't commit that,
I know. But we just,
but I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Anita, if you could check with Sharon. And coincidentally, her husband happens to be the coordinator of the clubhouse, and she's the chairperson.
Okay.
So she's the one to check with.
all right, so we'll try, the 22nd? Is that a Wednesday?
22nd? What is that?
No, we have
No,
21?
20,
20th is senior center.
24th senior center, so do it 20,
20.
what day is that, 20?
20 is senior center.
So 21,
21 is Angel Brook.
at 3 o'clock like we did last time. And then, gonna do
When is the senior center?
20.
that Monday.
Tuesday, the 20th.
Yeah, so you want to do,
20th,
We had one at the library last time.
senior,
yeah, we should do the library at night.
it's 6 o'clock.
Let's do it Thursday at 7 o'clock,
Thursday.
6 o'clock or 7.
Whatever
I thought we
the
did
time. I thought we did 6 or 7. No, 7, yeah.
Yeah, I think we did 6, I think you're right. So that Thursday at the library.
So Thursday's what, the 23rd?
22nd.
No, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
All right, so what's,
22nd is library.
so the 21st is the day we have.
21st?
Oh, no, 21st is the day,
Phil's gonna try for Angel Brook.
so then,
No,
yeah, Angel Brook, and then what are we gonna do?
we're gonna do
Hillside?
Hillside, so.
That would be the Friday,
What day do you want that?
the 23rd?
What time?
3.
Is it too late? 3 PM is too late for you, Bob?
Better get to my cocktail So we only have,
You could bring it there.
Leaves Orchard Knoll still.
Maybe we could do Orchard Knoll during the day on Thursday, the 22nd, and
Yeah.
then do the library at night.
Okay. That's good.
So I'll check with the new management team over at Orchard Knoll and see what would work.
the
Okay.
town hall, are we gonna do that at night on the Saturday, or are we gonna do that during the day also?
think we should
We
do
only
it.
have one at night then.
I have 2 Saturdays, but we didn't have I don't have locations put on those yet.
17th was the church, Christ Lutheran.
And I think the other should be
The other
10
one, the
10
last
o'clock
one,
in the
the
morning.
24th was town hall.
Yeah.
And one of the things we did receive as feedback last time around was that there weren't enough night sessions, but I think we can resolve that by taping one of the sessions and having it play on cable TV or YouTube or what have you,
Well,
so.
that's what I said,
people
because
can
we only
access
have
it.
one we only have one at night.
But as long
this
as we
whole
have
time.
something that's showing that people can readily access, I think we can resolve that.
Okay.
What
I
time
don't-
is the town hall? Same 11? 10,
10
10
o'clock,
o'clock.
10 o'clock.
I think all the times we've had them on TV, but if the people were saying there weren't enough night ones, putting it on TV more is not gonna resolve that
well,
issue.
we have the one tonight. You want to do,
Is there
I'm just
any,
saying.
is there any reason that the Angel Brook and Hillside ones have to be at 3 PM and not at 6 PM?
3 PM?
They could be at 6 PM?
I mean, if people are saying we didn't have enough night sessions,
Yeah.
well, why don't we do that? Why don't we do Angel Brook at 6 then? That solves that problem. You have 2 of
Then we'll
them.
have a couple at
Yeah, okay.
In the library, we were going to try to aim for 6 as well?
Yep. Is that too early?
No, I think those are good, but I don't think the general public really thinks they're invited to the Hillside and the Angel Brook ones. We didn't really get much.
I think we should probably think about having one at our brand-new police station.
I don't think we have enough days.
Well, I mean, these are the places we've always done them. We don't have to do them at these
Instead of
places.
town hall.
I really like that idea, 'cause it also gives us a chance to show off the quality of the work that's been done.
Instead of town hall, maybe we could have it there.
Saturday the 24th at the police station instead of town hall?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the meeting room downstairs.
I like
In the
that.
meeting room downstairs.
With Angel Brook, the night might be a problem because of cards and
Sorry?
games and
Complaining
all that, kind of, you know, these scenes.
Well, let us know if they can do it, just let us know as soon as possible.
Is it 3 or 6 PM?
I just
Okay,
emailed her,
okay,
so we might know tonight.
okay.
John, I don't know if this is going to be different, is that vacation week?
That's school vacation week.
That's the only week we have.
A lot of people here.
There's nothing,
Wow, bowling was up 8.
That's all the week we have?
there's no way we can change it.
You can't change it, you have to do it, we have to do it that week.
Was vacation week the 12th or the 19th?
I'm not-
19th.
Oh, President's Day, the 9th, you're right, yep.
Yeah, vacation week starts on the 19th.
That's all we have, right, that week?
Okay.
Yeah, the 15th and 16th, if you want to try to squeeze it in, or 17th.
If I'm going on vacation that next week, my final thing I do before I leave is not gonna go to I mean, we could, but
No, let's leave like the dates we have, and
we'll have them on TV, we'll have the mail,
what date?
Will you have the road shows, will you have to take it?
Have what?
Yes, we'll have the.
Yeah, we have the bid,
That's why we have to wait.
That's why we're waiting to that date, so we have the exact figures.
And I think we'll need a couple days to really,
Now, speaking of that,
Just verify the little better, yep.
does that give you enough time to get the payments, what it's gonna be, cost everybody?
Well, we're going to be basing those cost estimates on the known number right now. We won't have time between the 14th and the
17th.
17th to redo those numbers, no. We will have time before town meeting to have
Okay.
final redone.
No, because once the spreadsheets, the way they are, it's just it's a plug and play. We drop a number in and it changes like that.
So you were able
Yeah.
to work it last time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
we had that open sometimes if people had questions.
Now, the problem we may run into is, I'm going with the apparent low bidder. If that bidder gets thrown out for some reason,
If there's a protest or something like that.
right, so I mean,
We gotta go
we're
with
opening on
something.
the 14th. I don't think we're gonna have and a contract awarded by the 17th, correct?
No, you'll have a recommendation on a low bidder.
Right, so that's the only thing that could come back to bite us, but.
We just have to tell them, that we got, that's all you can do. But you feel comfortable, you can get the figures? Okay.
Well, that can be changed, that spreadsheet was just
And
filling.
you've still got other numbers beyond the bid, so you're gonna have some contingency factored in there should you drop a low bid or somebody backs out on a filed sub-bid. Your number isn't only asking, remember, for the bid amount, you're asking for the bid amount plus everything else.
Right.
Did that Harriet Chandler testimony effectively negate block grants?
Orchid Nova.
So that was going to be my update at the end of the meeting.
I'm sorry.
You took her thunder.
But we
Anita, I
did,
can't
we
tell you
did
how
meet
much
with the area representative from DHCD, and it is not feasible for us to apply for a block grant or any kind of state grant under that DHCD program, just because of the way we have structured the timing on this. We would have to have had town meeting authorization of payment of funds and have identified above and beyond that the amount we were going to be asking the grant to cover. We don't have the ability to do that before the deadline for applying for this year. So we either have a choice of putting off the whole project for a year and waiting for proper timing for DHCD funding, or we have to admit that it's just not going to work for us for that particular grant program.
If we were to do that, what kind of dollars is DHCD talking about?
It was a maximum of 800,000.
Yeah.
So, and chances are, with our demographics, we're not gonna get the 800. If anything, if we were to put it off, you take into account the escalator to putting it off a year, it's gonna be a wash at best.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm speculating, because I don't know what we could possibly get, but I don't think it would make
Oh,
sense.
We could get nothing.
Right.
Have you got any
Most
previous
likely.
awards from that grant?
No.
Well, there's your track record.
Do
Have
know
we
what
applied, though?
the
That would be
award
the-
percentages based on application rates?
No, we do not. However, he did say that they have changed the criteria for award. And previously, the criteria was that you wouldn't really be guaranteed any kind of award unless it was a regional application. But they have since changed some of that criteria, so there is perhaps more of a chance for a community to get a non-regional project approved. But the way we have set ourselves in stone in terms of process on this, unless we're willing to, throw out asking for town meeting funds now, we cannot apply for the grant.
Since we're speaking of grants, I'm wondering, has there been any update on the senior committee that was going to be looking to do fundraising? I haven't heard anything since we brought it up at the very genesis of this.
You want to talk?
I had promised my wife that I would stay out of the middle of that entirely, and the only thing I know is that we have one candidate, one prospect who has pledged $10,000 if when we go through the, once the project is approved. And I hope there's somebody out there chafing at the bit, as I would be, because I think we can do quite a bit of fundraising.
So is there a fundraising committee that's been organized?
There is
No, there
one.
is not. Well, we did have a gentleman come in and talk to us about it, and the outcome was, we said, if you do that, and you're also asking for funding at town meeting, you're asking people to do it twice, and it would not go over well. So his suggestion was, do the funding, get the building built, and then start doing fundraising for things that are not covered.
Well, but that,
The way they want to do it is, once the town meeting is approved, then they may go talk to the individual donors. But it's not for the construction of the building. It's for something else.
So it's not the format we had discussed originally, not that we got into any great level of detail at the time, but it was made known that there was the expectation that you'd be able to raise a great deal of money. And at least I understood what you said, but I would also have expected that a larger part of the fundraising effort would be through businesses in town, naming rights, and that sort of thing. So, I guess it's not much of a discussion until there's a committee that's actually organized.
What committee spoke to some expert?
We had the gentleman come in and talk to the board, Council on Aging Board,
Okay.
about how to go about that.
All right. So we also have the dates for town meeting.
Can I ask before we go? And Orchard Knoll, what was the time?
3.
No, 3 o'clock is for Angel Brook, 3 or 6 is Angel Brook, right?
We didn't put
Worship
it,
Knoll, we were suggesting it perhaps be during the day, on the same day as the nighttime library
Right.
session.
I have 3 PM tentative.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming we have to clear it with them.
We have to talk to the management.
Daytime is 10, 11?
Library, 6 o'clock.
the what?
Daytime is 10, 11 like that, or 3 PM? We have a library at 6 PM on that day.
What did you say about daytime?
Orchard Knoll, what time?
So
3
either,
o'clock, or is it?
We'd like 3 o'clock, but if that doesn't, it depends on what the management company says.
Nina, do you have the ability to post these as Outlook appointments?
On the town website?
On any page?
Oh, for
To get it
committee
onto-
members?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
As that would be very helpful, and if I could specifically request a 2-hour advanced alarm, just for those of us who might be inclined to forget.
That's a good point. I like that.
You don't always hear them, believe
Could you
me.
call them in the morning? Just remind them.
you want a wake-up call then for all of the meetings.
It's a built-in feature.
That's a good point. All right.
I just want to turn my off.
And that way,
I hope there's an
something-
option for that.
I've
Well, you gotta chew
missed a
or
few
run.
things where appointment times have been changed.
Yeah.
Having it centralized through Anita and updates posted, I'll be missing that excuse for
There you
meetings
go.
in the future.
Thank you.
I think we're going to have a meeting, when this list is
Oh,
finalized,
absolutely.
we're going to have a meeting to see the list. And then
We're still gonna.
it'll be pretty locked, etched in stone.
Yeah, we're gonna have also another meeting.
We're
about
going to have a few
town.
minutes about setting up
Yeah.
the slide presentation and
So-
what we're going to talk about.
Okay. All right, so next on the list was recreational fields, and Jim Bedoni from the.
Actually, John, before we move on, have we got specific people that have volunteered to put together this presentation and any dates by which we would have a first draft?
So the committee had asked that I ask Lisa to start drafting the presentation, and she had committed to have something ready for tonight. Do you have anything to hand out, Lisa, or?
Actually, no, I was hoping to get some of this information that I could put on PowerPoint. And I'm going to use some of the previous ones, but then we need to update with new information, so.
Maybe the better way to approach it in the meantime is to assign somebody from the committee to work with Lisa on developing the PowerPoint slides.
I can do that.
Okay, good. Thank you, Raj.
I think the basic slides, I mean, I don't know what you needed from tonight's meeting. I mean, the dates could be just left the slide, and they can be filled in at any time. Besides that tonight, there's nothing else we,
And any, well, the new amounts, if you want to throw in.
oh, we wouldn't have those tonight.
So I can-
Yeah, we won't have those will be just the slide
Right.
with the numbers
Those will be
blank.
there on the 16th.
Yeah, so
For the
the
17th
slide
meeting.
presentation can be
We don't have to worry about that, that will come.
can be done
Right.
without tonight's
And
meeting.
if we're going to use, or base it on the previous PowerPoint presentation, do you want to use some of those old slides again? Do you want to go through why we're doing this, you know, where we are now, what's wrong with it? Or do you want to just kind of start from scratch and say, okay, here's phase 2 and here's where we're at? That was my question.
I would say that 50% of it, you still have to demonstrate the need for the project. Keep the focus on that.
One thing we gotta put on there is that we will not have a place to go after,
It's already on there, yeah.
I think without a doubt, you have to say why,
Exactly.
why all over again,
Right.
because
Okay. All set?
Yeah, and as a note, I know last time around, Pat and I did the finance slides. And I'm certainly happy to do that
I
again.
think that'd be great. Do what you do best. All right. Now, Jim, come on up. Just grab a chair right at the end there.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank everybody for adjusting your meeting night to a Tuesday, because I know typically meeting on Wednesdays, we've had a bit of conflict, so thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Pedoni, I'm the chair of the Parks Commission, and the Parks Commission has asked that I would come speak with you guys to see roughly where the building was going to be placed, to see what kind of feasibility would be to improve the current softball field, and/or possibly, in addition to that, somewhere else on the property, build a soccer field. Currently, soccer fields are very short. We're currently using the baseball fields, actually almost every field in the fall for soccer in town. And the softball field is not very adequate. Currently, the way it's positioned, right field is only about 145 feet or so before you get to a road. Ideally, for that particular field, we've talked about, and nothing set in stone, just kind of throwing ideas around, putting the home plate in the back corner where right field was now and coming away from the road with the field. So the concern there is how much room exists based on where you plan on putting the building specifically, and also the parking lot.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we're not changing that front
We
at all.
are basically putting the building back where the municipal building was. We're up on the hill, and we are not really doing very much except for replacing asphalt in the existing drive and parking area for the field. So that part of the field is, we're crossing it with a water line and it's an electric line, but we're putting it back the way it was. So we're not actually changing any configuration in that lower field area at all.
All right, so what I'm hearing then is there won't be any additional room to make an appropriate size softball field in that area?
Well, there hasn't been any discussion of that. This is the first we're hearing of it, of course.
Right.
We've got the entire plan. There is some space on the other side, on the east side of the senior center, but I don't know that it's large enough. It's certainly sloping. And parking may be an issue because depending upon how your parking situation revolves around the senior center parking situation, we may not have enough parking for that. But I don't know that it's large enough. I do know that we have some, I do know that it slopes off pretty good. You've been up there. After you get there, after you get to that nice, beautiful tree, it starts to slope off. You're halfway across that area.
Sure.
I know one thing
But we do have plans that I think are posted.
Mm-hmm.
So we can certainly, any member here can print you a plan. So
Okay.
you can see that for yourself.
But the current field and that piece of land is not changing.
It's untouched.
All we're gonna do is fix the park,
Correct.
make it better for parking. You know, the spots, however we make them parking, we might do
Replace the
all that.
asphalt.
Yeah,
Is,
replace it.
is there space on that current field to move, if we were to move the home plate to build a proper size
So you
softball
want to put
field?
home here, right?
So, yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I haven't done any measurements, but, you know, ideally, home plate would be here, and it would go out that way.
Do you worry about foul balls going into the?
Not so much. I mean, we could put up netting like we've done in other fields and stuff like that. I mean, right now, it's the other way. I mean, you can easily hit it into the road this way.
A moving car, you can hit a parked car, so.
Right, exactly.
I could just ask, but to rebuild that field, it couldn't be put into this project.
No, and that's not the ask. The ask is to have space available to do something.
Planning.
Besides that front piece of land?
Well, the front piece of land was thought of just rebuilding the
I'm saying
softball
somewhere on
field.
the current
But
property.
if there is somewhere else on the current property
You can
that
see
we
that's
could
the only
do,
piece of land that's flat, and you can see the contours, there's a 1-foot contours, it drops off pretty readily. And this was an area that was preserved for senior center recreation. So
Okay.
there's really not much land. This is all parking, that's necessary.
oh, so this is parking for the new
Yeah,
building?
the
Okay.
parking, then we have stormwater.
So if that was parking for the new building, then do we need all of this? Or would that be parking for the field, or?
This is the parking necessary for here. If there's evening or larger activities, this is overflow, because typically the senior center and the fields don't have the same optimal parking times.
Sure.
So it's figured to be shared. These spaces are available to these and vice versa, obviously.
So I guess the initial thought is that, you know, the figures of somewhere between 11 and 13 acres are, you know, thrown out there, and it seems like a lot of land
It is,
for,
but they're talking about that area, that's all sloped. The upland, the flatter upland is much, much smaller. couple acres.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the property goes downhill.
Yeah, it is a very large parcel.
But I thought, we had talked about maybe fixing the drainage or doing something with the drainage for the, 'cause isn't there a problem with
It never came to, there's no money in the.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
That would be
it does
basically
get
a
pretty
rebuild.
wet, but yeah. I mean, that's not what we're not asking for that as much as we're asking to be able to put something there.
Future.
okay.
You're saying there's no money, but do we know approximately, do you have any estimates of what it would cost?
But at the last meeting, we had talked about the possibility of trying to leverage CPA funds to do
That's what I thought,
field
yeah.
improvements. It should qualify as a.
Absolutely it
expense. And
But that's,
and we will have heavy equipment on site, so I'd like to think we could probably leverage whatever the successful bidder is into
You still have to
a
bid.
Me
You
Too
still have to
application.
bid. You still have to bid.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that's, I don't know, that's this committee, the building committee, talking about what we think should be done for fields. I think if the Parks Commission wants to talk, or the Parks Facility Committee, if they still, what they're doing, if they think that's the next priority to be done, then I don't think it's us to say that we think we should be doing work on that.
But it doesn't make sense if you're gonna rebuild the driveway and stuff like that, do the drainage at the same time.
I think
To
it's
me-
good. I think it's a lot more expensive than we think to just fix the drainage on that field, because the field has, it's what we call it, it's a field.
It's clay.
It's really not a baseball field anymore, it's so overgrown, and,
Right.
I mean, the drainage, it puddles, there's ducks in it.
What drainage?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's a lot bigger issue than just having a couple trucks dig some holes.
And again, the only concern was like, where was the building gonna be? Would we still be able to do something there?
The answer is no to
You
that.
know, the drainage project is, where do you put the water?
Right, yeah, I mean, there's no land to,
Because we know there's rock, we found rock, so we know there's rock down there.
So is it possible for me to get, I'm assuming this is to scale, could I get some, like, dimensions thrown in there? So just at least in this area, so I would know, like,
Yeah,
what
well,
room is
if it's-
available?
If it's plotted to scale, you could say like 1 inch goes 20 feet.
Oh,
then-
okay, sure, all right.
Then you'd have that. So can I ask for
Anita, I think there's,
someone?
excuse me,
Or-
is there an extra set in your office that,
I don't have anything, I mean, if you could get it
There
to
is.
Anita,
Take?
she could
Yeah.
get it to me, that'd be fine.
Jim, that's a good point. There is an extra set of everything in the selectman's office. still.
Oh, okay,
So if you want to grab them tonight, or if you want to come back another day at your convenience,
yeah, I can come back and grab them,
okay.
and they are to scale, so you'll be able to put a scale on it,
okay.
and,
Leave your
and
bid document fee though for us.
We can print them.
But,
yeah, just, I mean, all he needs, he doesn't need the whole package, he just needs
so
that
let him
one.
just rip the page out. You got 3 sets that
I
nobody's
know,
looked
that
at.
they're all rolled up and dusty.
but I think,
Town did pay for a survey.
John made,
Oh, you did you?
John made a good point. It's
Everybody's comments.
13 acres, but it's not 13 acre usable acres.
You know, you can talk.
It's probably half that, isn't it? Not even that.
I think that's a good point to specify, because I think a lot of people misunderstood that and just think it's 13 acres that you can basically do anything with.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it is people's back, the woods behind a person's backyards, and it is reasonable, pretty heavy sloped, I would
Yeah,
say.
okay.
Okay, Chris, I agree with what you're saying as far as the scope of this particular project, but I guess, Jim, if the Parks Committee wanted to look at this as a priority, if they think they can get some leverage cost out of a common building project, certainly be open to working together to try to help, but it just wouldn't be budgeted to us.
Sure. All right. So I guess our next meeting is the 16th, so I will, gonna report this back to them and
Okay.
and then kind of go from there,
All right,
so.
thank you, Jim.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
This week, next week.
Is there anything else you need to talk about, Senior Center?
Just a couple of things, if I may, on the senior center. The plans were, stamped plans were submitted to the building department with an application for a building permit before the end of the year. So that is in process. We were anticipating a code change taking effect in 2018. So it was important that the plans as designed were submitted. The application is in with the building department and moving forward.
It's not approved yet, right?
It's what?
Is it approved?
No, it's not approved yet, but it's been applied for under the 2017 and is being reviewed against that particular code. I did make an adjustment to your typical senior budget, to your typical budget page for the senior center, and you'll notice at the top of that, I've plugged in the $4,353,000, which is the A.M. Fogarty current estimate. And we had been tracking against the current variance of what was projected, trying to meet that $1 million savings. So that number is now looking like we're standing at a savings of $786,000 thus far, trying to achieve that $1 million savings
From the 6.5?
from the 6.5.
Where's the 700? Tony?
Upper right. see
Upper
red
right,
number.
red.
Okay, I got it, thank you.
So we're always trying to track against that original kind of swag. The only other thing I wanted to end with on the senior center, there's been a number of conversations, you know, how this compares to the construction of, and the bid of the police department. So, on the budget summary page, the A.M. Fogarty cost estimate page, looks kind of like this page, has some red writing on the bottom of it. I wanted to just point out some of the differences and the big numbers. While the square footage of the police and the senior center are the same, and there's been several conversations that this building should be significantly somewhat less than the police station, there's some bigger numbers at play here that are not letting you maybe realize those savings of a single-story, no elevator building. And so I wanted to just note those on the bottom of this. If you take the fireplace as a for instance, and you go through the estimate and add up the chimney, the vent, the gas line, the millwork, the tile, the other stuff, not just, hey, I bought a $5,000 gas insert, you know, for my fireplace at home, but you add all that up, it's a $100,000 number that the police station doesn't have.
$100,000 for the fireplace?
I think it's less, I don't know how you calculated that, but.
Okay. Well, you can drill through the detail.
God, let's get rid of him.
The acoustical wall, the fire pump that we talked about, there's $50,000 in ledge, and we all know what a great site package we had on the PD. Your water, fire, and sewer. I wanted to remind everybody that we bid the police station without those utilities in there, because the plan at the time was to have the DPW perform that work. We then had to add all that by change order, and you remember going through those change orders of the magnitude $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in change orders to then add the utilities back in. Those are in this package, so we're not going to have to add those later. So some of those costs that, some of the lessons learned have been added back into this package. And if I just run through those numbers, the gas and the water and the sewer, adding those in, you were closer, much closer to the road coming off Route 12 than you are at this facility. So that gas run, which has to come off Horseshoe Drive and run up through the ledge to the back of the building, is approximately 550 linear feet of gas line through the ledge. So those are some of the things that you're not able to say, hey, this is a simple 10,000 square foot building. These are some of those big ticket items that I just wanted folks to be aware of.
Thank you for that, Tony.
Tom, quick question, do you remember how much was the elevator cost?
Elevator cost was $89,000.
And you wrote 100 here, just, you went up. PD
The elevator bid was 89, and then you had electrical and other
Right,
stuff
so
to
it's
go
about
with it, so it's
100,000 total.
$100,000. Yep.
So the elevator turned into a fireplace.
So that knocks that one out.
It's a win-win.
All right, fire pump.
I would like to add as well that we've got $100,000 for a fire pump for this building, and John has sent the calculations along, and there are some areas that are, that have a slight deficit. But we're gonna have a conference call with the engineers to see if there's anything else we can do. It seems like a colossal waste of money, as close as we are with the pressure. So we'll try and find out if there's anything that, any tricks up their sleeve that we can
They've
find
been
and get it.
asked 4 or 5 times,
6 on the
they've
past.
asked other people,
Keep asking,
so, you know, I don't,
keep asking until we save it.
So we'll,
but we'll try again.
we'll ask one more time,
Okay.
just so I can educate as to what what challenges they're facing, see if we can't come up with a better solution, because there's a lot of money for this
I think
building.
it's money and maintenance, future maintenance, that we wouldn't have if it wasn't there. It's another building we're maintaining, it's a whole, a bigger pumping system, bigger backup generator, it's just, I think, the long time.
If it was a steel frame building and no wood, then it'd be cheaper. You wouldn't need the pressure, because you wouldn't. you
Right, but
pay less
I'm
maintenance.
looking at the long-term maintenance for the project more than, but if we can't do it, we can't do it.
Is there anything else on the senior center?
That's it.
What-
you, Tom.
If I can just comment to that, so I brought up this pumping station that's on, just off of Prescott, that is a pressure boost for a good section of the street. And have we approached the water commissioners about upsizing that and
Yes.
pushing the pressure zone down a little further?
Yes, I talked to him after our last meeting, it will not work, that whole line will not
Take the pressure.
suitable for another booster pump further down the road.
It's transite pipe, which is brittle asbestos pipe.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to invoices. Cardinal for the senior center invoice number 6 is $18,766.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
CBA for police station number 5653 is $3,000. That was the last one, right, Joe? The $3,000 for the police station.
I don't know that, if it was the last one, it would say on the
Yes.
invoice.
That was the
Okay.
last one, right?
Close out, it says.
Okay.
Hold on, okay.
Then that answers another part of the thing here about, we wouldn't have the 11th month warranty review that was listed in Tony's recommendations.
What was that?
The 11th month warranty review, I guess that's not a contract requirement.
No,
I saw that listed, so.
But I do have it on my tickler file to
I
remember.
just put
that
it in there as a
Yes.
note so that people think about having somebody do a review of the
I've
building
already got it
systems.
scheduled in Outlook.
If I'm still here on the senior center, I'll be happy to walk over.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry.
What is it
$3,000.
for?
It's the final.
For the
Close
final
out
thing
of
for the police
Caleb
station,
Medic's contract.
the $3,000 to close out the police station.
This is just the balance of
Of the
the
contract.
engineering design.
Final payment, yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. CBA for the senior center invoice number 5670, $189,160. What percentage does that bring you?
So,
As far as the contractor?
Yeah.
I believe that's final payment, right, Tony?
No, on the senior
CBA,
center.
senior
he's saying
center.
Oh, in the senior center, that's,
Takes you through the
that's
80%.
design, that's
I believe.
design and not including bidding, so it takes us through all the design phases.
80%?
100% of design.
100% of design,
When
95%
did you
of
receive that, I should say?
contract, construction
When
documents.
did you receive that invoice?
Last week.
it's dated December 28th, but actually, I think the amount that, this is incorrect, I think the amount that needs to be voted for this invoice is $135,660.
Correct.
The $189,160 includes an invoice that's already being processed for payment, it's my understanding.
Oh, good.
So it's invoice 5670 still?
It is invoice 5670 for the amount of $135,660.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion?
We already voted on the 53.5?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and
It's
that's
already
been in
been paid.
process.
So this represents 100% of the engineering design services. There's nothing remaining at this point in time.
I do not know that, I don't have the invoice in front of me to tell you that.
But as far as any remaining engineering architectural services,
There would be bidding services, which are separately listed, and construction administration services if funding permits. But just for the design, that would be, I believe that's 100% of design.
And that'll be going out this Friday.
So we have 5% construction documents left, and we have the bidding left.
Okay, so actually it's 95%.
Oh, 95, okay, yeah, 95%. Okay.
I didn't think you would bill in advance.
Anything, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go other, these are for the police station, I believe, right?
Correct.
WB Mason invoice number 1509-45924, $249.99. WB Mason invoice number 15088, 2059, $1,049.97. WB Mason number 1504-24724, 224, sorry, 1609.98. Carousel 1205-171-3370, 9797.54. And Amazon for $49.99.
And we actually have one more,
We have another one?
there's a Terracon bill for $9,100.
Anita? That's included in our
That was
Cardinal
in your
invoice.
payment?
Yeah, that's just a
Oh,
copy
okay.
for you.
All right, so I can take that off then. Thank you.
They are the sub-consultant that did the geotech under Cardinal,
Okay,
so that was covered under that invoice.
included in Cardinal invoice.
So all these are in budget, already been paid, already
Yeah,
been talked about budget.
Except the Amazon one, I
$49.
don't know where
Get
that
that,
came
we're not
from
paying
or
the
what it
50
was.
bucks.
I was dying.
All the other furniture ones through WB Mason, I've got confirmation from the chief and/or Officer Bartlett that they've received the furniture and it's okay to pay it.
Yeah, the Amazon one was just for a key cabinet for storage of keys.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, and the carousel invoice, it's abbreviated gobbledygook. What is it actually?
So it was part of the communications package worked on with Karen and Jay back in the day. It was voted on and approved as a commitment. They've now completed the work and this is the invoice. And I can't tell you what the gobbledygook is.
I don't know.
Phone's on the desk, it's part of the phone system that is installed at the current public safety system. And they carried a line or carried extensions down there and put phones on desks.
I guess the one thing I'm curious about, this has come up before, I mean, they've got, the only thing you can read that's legible on here is IP office licenses. Do we know what the carry forward annual license costs are gonna be for the software we're using?
I thought that was brought up in another meeting. I thought we talked.
It was, but we didn't
I
really
don't
get
think we
an
ever got an
answer.
answer.
We're covered on everything for a year, we'll worry about it later.
Right.
So, if we're gonna be building our budgets for the next fiscal year, we really kind of need to know what that number is.
We'll get that for next meeting.
Well, I mean, I don't think we need it here. I think Anita needs it to set the budget for the future, but
Yeah.
now the building committee is, once we pay this bill, it's up to the town to figure out where they pay for any,
Yeah, Dennis and IT will need to figure that out.
Agreed.
yeah. So I don't think we even need to,
Okay.
it's gotta be looked at, but I don't think the building committee needs to see it.
There's one other thing. on the
We didn't
police-
vote on it.
I thought we did.
No,
I'm
we
sorry.
didn't vote on all those as a
No, It's
whole.
been moved and seconded.
All in
but not
favor?
voted.
Well, hold on,
I'm sorry.
another one on these, has the chief signed off on these since Jay is no longer the
Yes.
rep for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all set. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we had a discussion on the police station from the planning board that there's no fence around the chain link fence. It's from the neighbor's
Fence around
side.
the fence?
No, there is a vinyl stockade fence between, they wanted a fence, a screen fence in front of our chain link fence that did the impound yard. We have a security impound yard, which chain link fence with a little bit of barbed wire. And then on the neighbor's side, we also added a vinyl sided stockade fence. and which is exactly what we said we would do.
So why are they saying it?
So there is this vinyl coated stockade fence in front of the chain link fence?
Yes, on the north side.
So what is it they're asking for?
So we're good with it, I mean, I
Well,
don't know
that's,
what they're asking.
do you understand what his concern was then?
No.
Okay.
And Tony has been asking them to schedule a site visit on the site for weeks.
Yeah.
And now that Tony's basically off the picture, I sent an email to Vin Vignali the other day saying, you know, are you planning a site visit in the immediate future? And that's when he emailed back his question about, well, what's the status of a fence?
Okay.
So,
Is that the location of the fence, though, at the,
This is ambiguous. It just says, in my previous emails, I questioned whether a fence has been installed to screen the chain link fence. Where? Between the neighbors it has.
yes.
Are they talking about
That's the
around
only
the
way-
impound
And
yard?
That's the only one we offered
That's
to
the only,
discuss.
that's the only one that was on the plan, was between the neighbors.
So then the answer to that question is yes. That's all we have to do is send an email back that says, yes, it's been installed.
So they're gonna be brought up tomorrow with the planning board. You'll be able to answer that.
Yes, I'll drive by. I mean, I don't really remember seeing it, but I do think I saw it.
Well, no, we installed vinyl
In addition to the
slats
fence.
in the fence
Oh,
and put
that's,
shrubbery in front of that.
okay, but if this is the work and drawing,
The fence is in the drawing?
that's all we did. So I'll have to go back to the decision of the planning board and determine whether or not that was actually an order of the, an order for the planning board to do that. The way we interpreted it was not.
so currently there is the chain link fence with the
Vinyl
mesh.
slats, so they don't see into it and
Right.
see impounded cars and whatever.
But nothing else.
And there's bushes in front of that. There are evergreens.
And I believe we talked about the screen fence, and we probably had the conversation down, and we talked them back down into the vinyl slats, I bet.
Because this,
Is it in the drawing?
No,
Two fences?
the second fence isn't in there, so I believe we talked them back to just putting the slats in there. So I'll go back and look at their decision.
So is that the as-built that was?
Well, that's the
considered?
construction drawings.
Yeah, that's just a construction zone.
Okay.
Okay.
because they're saying they cannot waive the fence, but the ZBA could. Might be able to.
They're just asking, was it done? They don't know.
Well,
They're
that
just
fence
looking for
isn't-
permission.
What he
It's an
need-
RFI.
That's not a ZB, well, how can it be a ZBA issue to put a fence there?
I just think what it says. Okay. Let's see what happens tomorrow. All right, anything else?
Well, while we're talking about the planning board, we have a meeting there tomorrow night to present the senior center,
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock. At least, or 7, somewhere after that.
7, yeah.
So the question is, we've asked for them to waive some fees, and we were wondering if the Fisp is has an opinion they would like to express at that meeting about waiving fees and which fees and how much fees.
Well,
I know you've discussed it before.
I think we like we do for the police station. I mean, we feel that, it's a town project, so any fees, we're just paying ourselves. So we would hope they would waive
Well,
everything they could.
we're paying their engineer also.
Well, we allowed them to take, what was it, $500
$500.
as an advance fee against potential costs?
First.
Can we just roll that over and call it even?
Well, that was all figured into the amount paid against the VHB.
Don't forget,
Expenses.
we did pay VHB quite a bit of money.
9, 10.
Why? But I thought beyond the VHB expenses, they had requested,
They did.
we agreed
We did.
on a $500
We did.
just
And they lowered that for us.
Oh,
No,
that was for the
Tony wants to, he's dying to
Go
talk.
ahead,
additional construction amount?
That's
The-
my
Construction
remembering,
review?
right or wrong. That's
We,
what
well,
I
we don't
remember.
know whether they're gonna charge
The
us
amount
anything.
was $900, I believe, and they agreed to cut that in half, is what they voted. And so the $450, $500 that I think you're talking about, we did end up paying through the project, and it covers their administrative person, who typically gets paid out of those fees. So when they voted at your request to waive the fee, they actually voted to reduce it to half so that they could continue to pay and cover some of those administrative fees.
So I assume that we would do the same thing.
But ask them to
do the same.
waive any fees that they can waive.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a
Reduce.
position, do you want to take a position on the peer review? In that the town has purchased the engineering services for this project. You have an engineer working your behest to, do what's in your best interest. And the planning board is going to hire another engineer, which they would normally hire for an independent application, not the town, to verify that the work is in the best interest of the town. So you're actually paying two engineers to do the same scope.
I think we had this discussion last time.
And we have an OPM to verify that the engineer is doing what is proper as well.
I think we should
among
ask
other
them to
things.
waive that.
So someone make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Do we, not the Fisp, but can they be directed by the Board of Selectmen to waive that, or how does that work?
They're a separately elected board. They-
Okay, so there's no, okay.
Last time it came up. So if the town requests to waive it, they will waive it.
Okay, good.
That's what,
So VHB wouldn't do it?
when they come in, they can request it.
So VHB would not do a review?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good.
But if
So-
something goes wrong, then,
Well, the planning board's never liable if something goes wrong anyway.
It's
right?
a town
but that's the
anyhow.
reason, that's the
Just
reason
saying it's, you don't
for
want
the
anything.
other projects, say Cumberland Farms.
But this is for,
They do have
this is
their
the town
engineers.
doing it for the town.
Agree, totally agree.
Yeah, Cumberland Farms, I think, is a different story
Yeah.
completely, because
They're gonna
that's
want-
looking, he's looking out for the best interests of the town.
Right.
We have people looking out for the best interests.
One aspect of this is that we're going out to bid next week. And if the planning board has decisions or opinions that they would like us to do or change on the drawings, it would be much nicer for us to get them in prior to the bids being received, so they're an addendum as opposed to a change order.
Okay.
So, and if there's no peer review, if the peer review can be waived, that's one less thing we have to wait for the, planning board's decision.
So there's a motion on the table to request that the requirement for a peer review be waived. Whoever made that motion and seconded it, do you want to also include the language about requesting that any and all fees associated with the application process be waived or reduced?
So moved. I'll add that to the
Okay.
motion. Who
And who
seconded it?
seconded it?
I did.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah, just by way of context, when they hired this duplicate independent group last time, did they have any findings that were material?
They had a lot of recommendations that we couldn't afford.
I'd say, I was at that meeting, most of them were recommendations. Their engineer just said, well, I think you should do this, but it wasn't anything that they,
The only
Was in the-
substantive thing, I think they made you widen the parking
Driveways.
thing by a foot or 2 feet or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and we suggested we didn't need to, but so they increased the amount of asphalt, made the roadways a little bit wider. So yes, we did make changes, we certainly did.
Right.
I think it'd be important as part of the meeting minutes to document that the prior independent review resulted in no material changes to the scope of work or cost.
just suggestions.
To add to that, so that review was not extensive as in for the other companies or other projects. It was very extensive.
Right.
Whereas this one was not that extensive.
Okay.
Because of the amount of dollar amount.
Well,
So the VHP involvement was very less.
we're asking them not to do it at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also VHP did not pick up the, what's that?
The highway stuff.
Highway
Yeah.
stuff. VHP or our, Tony did not pick up that.
The DOT
Yes.
highway limit.
We did end up spending money on that.
Okay. Anything else in discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain on that.
Okay. Other updates, I think on behalf of Fisp, we want to thank you, Tony, for all the work you did.
Thank you.
Police Station Senior Center, I mean, you've gone above and beyond everything we've asked you to do, and we really appreciate everything you've done for us.
see John's
really choked up
What's your
I
favorite
can't
beer?
talk.
We're all gonna be sick after.
Exactly.
I got one very trivial thing, because you were talking about donations and stuff, and I realized I've got benches in the budget that are going to go out in the porch, but we also talked about donation of benches. That's an easy thing to
Right.
do, and you can do that. So I'm going to take them out of my drawings, and we'll
Okay.
think of benches are going to come later.
Good.
How much will that save us, Steve?
100,000.
$1,500.
What's that, 150,000?
All right, is there anything else?
Do you need the
You
two
need
bicycle
to
loops?
confirm the date of the next meeting?
It's that we have
Oh,
it
yes.
scheduled for 124 already. I mean, we already scheduled it for 124.
Yes, I just want to confirm that
Okay,
that's
so
still on
the
board.
next meeting is January 24th, 7 o'clock, this is a Wednesday, right?
It's the Wednesday, correct.
It's in the book already.
And I noticed when we were talking about calendars, and I think it's very fortuitous, that on February 14th, when the bids are opened at 1 o'clock, at 5 o'clock that morning, I'm on a plane to South Beach. So I'm getting out of town.
Boy, everybody's jumping ship
Yeah.
right before these come in.
All right, anything else? Motion,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Tony, again, thank you so much.